And Ryan, and I want to welcome you to the third Portland's Children Levy Allocation Committee meeting of 2022. I'm joined by my committee colleague, County Commissioner Jessica Vega Peterson. Hello.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be in person.
And who do we have on Zoom? Go ahead and introduce yourself. I see Felicia. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Felicia Tripp Folsom. I am the Multnomah County Rep for the Children's Levy.
And Mitch.
Hi, everybody. Mitch Horniker. Nice to see everybody.
It's great to have you both here, and we definitely have a quorum now. So, all right, let's get going. I'm joined by the Levy staff. We have Erica here, Joel. The truth is, it's like I'm meeting you all for the first time. John, Meg, there's Lisa, and Yoshing. Where's Yoshing? There you are. You're like in control there. Great. And our new community engagement coordinator, Rachel. Rachel, where's Rachel? Hi, welcome. Yay. This is our first hybrid meeting, can you tell? And I want to thank all of you for joining us today, whether you're in person or you're on Zoom or you're tuning in. Before we get started, let's approve the minutes from the June 14th meeting. And I'm asking for a motion.
So moved.
So moved.
Oh, second.
Oh, look, we're both doing the same thing.
Yeah. Jessica Vega Peterson gets Commissioner Vega Peterson. You just moved it. And was that you, Mitch, that seconded, or was that Felicia?
Felicia.
Oh, okay, sorry. Well, that's done. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So now I am joined by, let's see, the script. Where are we? Okay. We're at public comment time. So do we have anyone signed up for public comment?
We do not have anybody signed up for public comment today.
Okay. But we are going to then move over to our first item, which is grantee partner reflections. And we have some very special guests. They're joining us from 3 grantee partners providing after-school services, and they're going to share their reflections on their service and their delivery. Lisa Pellegrino, will you introduce our guest speakers, and including those who are with us in person and those who are joining us on Zoom? Good to see you, Director Pellegrino.
Yep, sorry, I thought there was another green light. I thought that meant I was on, but no. So nice to see you all in person, and those of you who are on the screen. I'm going to introduce first Ernie Guerrero, Program Director from Step Up at Open School, and he's going to join here at the table because he's in person. And then we have David Contreras Machado, Program Manager at Latino Network for the Conexiones Escalera program. I don't know if he's on yet. I don't see him, but oh. He's just joining. Okay, I told folks to join around 3, so he should be up shortly. And then last we have Pao Tong, Program Coordinator for the Inspire program at ERCO, and also with him his colleague Molly Armentrout. I don't know if I'm saying that right, Molly. I hope I am. Program Assistant for the Inspire program. So those are the folks who are going to come up and talk today. And we can do that order if that works for folks, or people jump in if David's not there. So Ernie, do you want to come on up? I can do this is awesome. Wow, we're in person.
Thanks. Commissioner Ryan, Jessica, Commissioner Pedersen. It's just good to be here. And where can I see the other folks? There we go. Yeah. There's one right here. So as Lisa said, my name is Ernie Guerrero. I'm the director of the Step Up program, a program of Open School, Inc., and my pronouns are he, him. I'm Chicano, and I've been with Step Up since 2013. That's when I started. So a little bit about Step Up, a little bit about kind of how things are going this year, and then maybe some voices from, I have some quotes from students. But Step Up is a wraparound supports program. We offer both social emotional support and academic support. So we're in the after-school program category, but we're an in-school and after-school program that operates in 3 high schools, Roosevelt, Franklin, and McDaniel. And our work is around helping struggling kids of color and other marginalized kids make it to and through high school. So we have in those 3 high schools, we have 10 staff in the building. And so by in school, I mean they start at 9:30 in the morning and go to 6 at night in the building. The piece for Step Up is that we're a racial equity, social justice program that kind of we steep our practice in trauma-informed care and also strength-based, looking at students from a strength-based approach. And we address the two, both the academic and the trauma, because we all realize that not a lot of homework gets done if there's something pretty big going on. So those are our two places of operation. We work with about 130 kids at each school, so about 400 a year. And our advocates have, we're settled into the building, and we were in the, I guess we can go back a couple of years, but we went remote. We turned our whole program digital 2 years ago, and last year we were in the building as well with kids and families. So we have a kid and family approach, that it's a three-way approach for success, or for a kid to find success, right, in high school. And so yeah, we were in the buildings last year, through it all, right? We started with Delta, we went to Omicron, and then somehow we made it through. This year, we're in the building again. But this year, it feels a little different, right? It feels like, okay, this is as close to what was normal, or what was a couple of years ago, right? And things are going well. Like, we're still, with Step Up, we work with 180 freshmen. We work with about, and then we work with about 180 freshmen, 100 sophomores, and then 60 and 60 of juniors and seniors. So we do a four-year footprint at each school. But the incoming freshmen, one of our capstones is to take every freshman to a leadership, we call it a leadership camp. And actually it's a social, emotional, and also trauma-informed camp that brings in challenges, it brings in story and counseling, and it brings in community. So our incoming freshmen spend 3 days in August. We put on 6 camps. We only take 30 students at a time. But this is where we bring students together. We run them through a 3-day curriculum, and we really try to get to the limiting beliefs that kids have that usually are gifted to them by adults in their life, and work on those, of identifying and releasing them. And also we work with story. Both, we never ask we have a whole many facilitation teams that sort of facilitate students through this process. But one of the places we get to is both adults sharing story of their life and their struggles and what they've made it through. Not everything, but yes, some piece. And also opening up for students to bring their story into the circle. And there's a process of getting to that place, but these 30 students wind up really knowing and understanding those students that go through camp together. And they also get introduced to staff and sometimes visiting teachers, but Step Up staff and the advocates that will be with them for the next 10 months. So when a freshman who may or may not have been in the high school building before stepped into high school, we have an office. We're there at the door cheering them on and welcoming them, and they also know about 29 other kids. And then we're there in the afternoon to be with programming with them. So we have our academic programming in after school ends. So that's kind of our format. What are kids and advocates doing between 9:30 and 3? An advocate can be sitting in with teachers and helping students. They can be helping students advocate with the teacher. We have full access to Synergy and the homework assignments, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working in concert with kids and teachers throughout the day. We have a counselor also within our program that's working with counselors and teaming up with the counselors at the school, so that we're in partnership to try to wrap around services for all students, but the 100 or so students at each school that we're serving. The idea is that we're just deep in relationship with kids and deep in relationship with families. So they know us, we know them, and a lot of times it's our advocates that and our staff that know what just happened last night. It's like, okay, the electricity got cut off last night. We can talk to teachers and go, okay, so-and-so might be showing up in a certain way because of this. And it could be a slew, you know the list that it could be. But that we can work with teachers so that they know that, okay, we can work with a certain student. I got it. We could both be in partnership in the building, supporting a kid through a difficult time maybe. So this is our work during the day. After school, the advocate is with their group in shared classroom. We use teacher classroom space and go through a process of just working on projects, working their homework, working on assignments that they might have. And so that is what happens kind of between 3:30 and 5. We have something called late nights too, a couple of nights, because some kids have, I say kids, all right, I'm in my 60s. Some students have sports, so they are in practice during that time. So we have also a couple of days a week where we're doing 5:30 to 7:30 for those students to finish up with practice, come on over, grab a snack, and get to work with a few other athletes. Do we have fun? Yeah. Is it hard? Yeah. Are we in a relationship with kids in a really kind of cool and good way? Yes. And coming up here soon, we're just starting our family nights. So those families are going to be coming and gathering either at the schools or a neighborhood community center. But this is kind of us. We have 398 students enrolled to date. So the piece about being in schools this year is just that it's starting to feel like I know we're face to face right now, but we've been doing this for a while. Staff meetings, gatherings, whatever, trainings. We had a month's worth of trainings with staff. We've kind of been face to face for a while. And when you're in a building with 1,400 kids or 2,000 kids, it's like, all right, we're in it, So yeah, what's the struggle? The struggle probably, we're still early in the year, so things are really kind of alive and well and going well. The struggle is really staffing, which is probably what a lot of our partners are struggling with, like getting really solid candidates for positions in the organization, and advocate positions that can fill our advocate roles. That's really kind of one of them. It's a different year. I'm like, okay, so we're going to have this background rolling thing going for a little bit, but we're about 95, 92% full right now on the advocate level. So that, that's kind of, our process, our work. We also, do a lot of professional development and training with advocates. So we load it up front, and then we kind of, as advocates come in, it's the struggle. It's like, okay, now we got to do like a round 2 or a round something. But so far, that is kind of step up. We've been doing it since '03, so we're in year 19. I don't have a timer. I don't know how much time I have. But I'd like to bring a couple of voices from students into the room. They're going to pop out of my laptop. The last year, after 2 years in a pandemic, what we did at the end of the year, or in the spring as we went in toward the end of the year, is that we had focus groups for students, because they're our clients, right? It's families and students, and we gathered 9th and 10th graders, because those were non-camp students, and then the 11th and 12th graders. And at each school, we sat down, and the approach we had was that life is different for students, life is different for the school, life is different for the home after 2 years of pandemic, right? And systems are cracking, systems are showing wear, and sometimes systems don't change. And we kind of looked at ourselves after 18 years and we're like, okay, we should be asking, how should we change? What is working and how can we adjust? To the new student who, I guess I describe students these days as if any student was paying attention to what happened over the last 2 years, they got like a little mini masters on how systems work. Systems of policing, systems of healthcare, systems of et cetera, school systems. So it seems like the approach we're coming at is like we have different students in front of us. We have different humans in front of us. And how can we support this like little different individual, whether they know it or not? We are different too. And so I'd like to share some of those things of what they said. What do students love about Step Up? Step Up's a cool place to be, of course. Each and every person in Step Up is unique. Step Up helps me keep grades up. We get a lot from Step Up. You don't think you need it until it's offered to you. Program has always been solid. I go to programming for advice. It helps me chill out. Step Up is something to look forward after school. Programming is fun. We can trust each other. In my advocate group, Step Up is a great place to build relationships and meet people. What do students love about Step Up? Advocates, snacks, field trips, a sense of community, incentives, meeting new people, and helping with them talking with teachers. Students feel supported by advocates. Advocates keep you accountable. They check in on you and make sure you turned in everything and provide a lot of support. I trust my advocate a lot. Advocates will help you right away. It's really easy to get help. My advocate takes really good care of us. She has great mood and brightens up everyone's day. My advocate is like an older sister figure at school. She can keep information confidential, but also helps with schoolwork. Advocates hype up your grades all the time. It's nice to have a trusting adult to talk to, since some people don't have great relationships with parents. Advocates are always checking in and congratulating you for accomplishments. The piece that I'll just kind of close with is that one thing that came up again and again and again after 2 years of this was that relationship. Like, there's someone that has my corner, there's someone I know, and the other piece is safe gathering, because the streets of Portland are a little bit dicier these days, especially as darkness comes around, et cetera. So our practice to sort of do gatherings with students so that they can, last year, just getting together was an important thing for them outside of school. I would say our work with social emotional support, academic support, relationship building, and being real with students they definitely have let us know that their mental health is in need of support, and that they're appreciated in Step Up office. So yeah, questions? There's plenty more I can go on and talk about.
Oh no, people want to ask you questions, Ernie. So I'll go ahead and open it up to the committee. And I'm trying to monitor the screen. I only see,
I see Mitch, I see
Okay, now I see.
Felicia, Molly.
although, use the hand raise function, please.
I'll
But,
start
yeah.
off. Yeah, thank you, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Ernie, thank you so much for this great insight into the work of Step Up and really talking about how the way, I think especially with our high school students, have been impacted by the pandemic in ways, and it's really shaped like such a critical part of their development and their life. My daughter's actually a freshman, and it was funny because on back to school night, there were like the only set of parents that had been in the building were the seniors. Like, it was a new experience for three, and so that's kind of like where we're coming from with high school students, you know. I did have a question though. How are students identified for the program?
Well, we work in partnership with Portland Public Schools. We tended to have we had access to what was the academic priority list So it's a list of students that, are recognized by certain factors to not be on track to graduate. That list is held at different schools, so we work with the middle school counselors, and we've been at it for a little minute, so we know a lot of teachers. Actually, some of our staff are teachers. We've been at it for so long. So we work with both. We work off that list, and we work off of our relationships with counselors and teachers in the feeder schools. So we know all our feeder schools. We do presentations to feeder schools to incoming for exiting 8th graders. So we do presentations and get names and then it's about talking to parents about if Step Up is a right fit. We also just we advertise and do just open family nights so families can come and see this is what we do, this is what we offer. And sometimes we just hustle like heck at George's, graduation of 8th graders and start pulling kids in. But yeah, our registration period starts in about March, April, and goes into the summer. And our goal is right there is for ninth graders, right? 180 of them. So so we want to get them because we want to take them to camp beginning August 1st. We pulled off 6 camps this summer, which is unheard of. We pulled off 50% of that and barely the summer before and nothing before that. So yeah, it was, and that's where the deep work starts. As far as Step Up, we feel like we really get in deep relationship with kids ahead of the game before we step into the building. So that was a big success for us. But yeah, that's kind of where there's a whole collaborative of folks that are feeding. It's not uncommon for me to get a call and go like, hey, my kid was in Step Up. I want this kid to be in Step Up. Legacy parents for sure. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Thank you. Felicia, I see your hand up.
Thank you. So how do you decide who is a good advocate for your Step Up program? Because you were saying that that's where you're really looking for additional people. So I'm just curious, as being there since 2013, what makes a good advocate for Step Up?
Yeah. Well, we have a hiring process, we have a vetting process, and that multiple perspectives from all of our sites are involved in the hiring process. But it is how do we decide? We're looking for. So let me back up just a half step and say, an advocate is a part-time, part-year staff member. So they don't work during the summer, about a month and a half in the summer, and they work 32 hours a week, Monday through Thursday. And for those positions, they're entry level, seemingly entry level positions into education and advocacy. So we're looking for character traits about wanting to work with kids, loving this work, and especially if they've done any kind of connection with racial equity or social justice or volunteering, and if they've done, and we look at whether they've done any youth work in their past. But we look for really there's both. Advocates do not have to have experience. We could work with that. We have plenty of curricula to bring people up to speed. It's the characteristics and traits and qualities of the individual. Like, are you in this? Do you love kids and families? Are you in this? Are you comfortable talking with people? Are you comfortable engaging with people? A lot of our advocates come to us saying, I want to be that person that I didn't have when I was going through school and I was struggling through, because now I made it, maybe I'm out of college, and this is where I'd like to start. And yes, we do look at, our staff are currently around 80% BIPOC, and our students are a little over 90 BIPOC. So we are looking for, we try to recruit from the BIPOC community, so, yeah. Got any names to throw our way?
No, but I was thinking about it. If I look, and that's why I was thinking, that's why I was asking the question. It is a tight labor market.
It is.
Ernie, thanks for being here.
You bet.
And
Thanks
I'm
for
familiar with the program for years, actually.
Yeah.
And so my question is to help me understand again how it works in terms of the scale. So the reason the number is so high freshman year is because of the camp between the 8th grade year and freshman
Right.
year.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
then I noticed the numbers go down.
As we go towards senior.
How do you make what's the decision making
Yeah.
to scale down in
Yeah.
terms of the?
Oh, we just kick them all out, you know? No,
I know you
great
did
question.
do that.
Yeah, yeah,
but that's
that-
why
yeah.
I wanted you to explain.
So with the 160, what we've learned, the reason we target ninth grade is because ninth grade is the year that if an individual student has had really kind of poor customer service and not too good of a relationship with schools, that's kind of the year they're going to go. So our push is for ninth grade. And we also use that transition from middle school to high school as like you're someone different. It's part of our camp. You're not, that's your old self, like what's your new self? So we hit hard at the ninth grade level. And usually so at one site, we'll be serving 60 ninth graders. Of those 60, there's going to be about 35 to 38 that want to stay and step up. Some of them say, I'm good, you know. Some of them move out of the district or out of the school. But that tends to be the tapering zone. About 35, 38, 40 students will transition from the 60 to sophomore help. And what we've found over the years is that the 20 juniors and about 20 seniors, plus or minus a little bit, those advocate groups are also bigger because they kind of know step-up culture and they move into the program, so one advocate can be in a larger group. There's about 20 apiece that still would love support throughout the whole four-year program. And that's kind of what we found.
So the students select.
Students,
It's
families.
not around the credit attainment at the end of freshman year,
No,
since
not
that
at all.
is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
data
yeah.
that suggests.
This is just the kind of the normal sort of pattern that we see. And a lot of our students, especially juniors and seniors, they'll still be coming around. They're like, I'm still coming around for whatever, you know, and
Yeah.
get my love. But they really don't need that. They got the habit. They got their practice.
And I know we
of
have to move on to the other folks, but I just
Yeah.
want to give you a chance to really bring home your impact. So if a student is a part of the program starting at the transition summer between 8th and 9th grade and they stay with it, what's their graduation rate?
I can't tell you because we lose access to the data. Like as a student rolls, well, data is protected, right? So for the 60, let's say 60 freshmen, we have access to that data. As they roll off of the program, we no longer have access to the program. So I could give you not our graduation rate, but what's our rate of graduating those 20 or 22 seniors? Almost 100%.
Okay. And do you see it through longitudinally into what's next, whether it's college or workforce?
Yeah, we play a strong role because by this time we're really engaged with the family, and usually we play a strong role in. Sometimes we're even dropping them off at the dorm and putting it together. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much for how many years you say you've been involved in
Yeah,
the
this is
program?
I started in 2013.
Wow.
So, there we
Thank
go.
you so much for your service.
Absolutely.
And I know Felicia was hinting towards that, but all of us want to send, everyone's having workforce challenges.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. And so I know that Felicia and you had some dialogue around that. So we'll be thinking good thoughts. Is it really, though, tell us, I mean, that's your biggest issue you said right now?
Yeah, and it's working. Like we have ongoing interviews and stuff. But yes, I would say our biggest issue is staffing, and then ongoing training.
Thanks for putting that out in the public record.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much for being here, Ernie.
Yeah,
And
you
thank
bet.
you for
Thank
the
you.
good work you're doing at
It's
Open
been a
School.
pleasure.
Lisa, who's next?
Is David on the screen? I don't see him. He is there? Okay, sorry. Oh, okay. David, there you go, okay. David Contreras-Machado from Latino Network. You can take it away, David.
Perfect. Thank you so much for this opportunity to speak with you all. And thank you so much, Lisa, as well, for reaching out to us on behalf of PCL. But in just 5 minutes, I'll try and explain everything that we do. It is definitely a lot to talk about. So I'll give you a brief overview of the history of Latino Network and then specifically our department. So to begin, my name is David Contreras Machado, newly the Associate Director for the EAP department at Latino Network. So a quick overview for those who don't know, Latino Network was founded in 1996 by advocates for the needs of growing Latinx communities in the Multnomah County. We definitely started as a grassroots organization beginning and now evolving into a continuum of services that support the Latino community, Latinx individuals, families included. Our program mainly focuses on education, advocacy and leadership, health and wellness, economic justice, youth empowerment, violence prevention, and of course, art and culture, all accumulating up to nearly 11,000 community members reached through the Multnomah and Clackamas and Washington counties just last year. So for our specific department, which is the Educational Access Programs Department, that also PCL helps fund, is provides school-based and year-round services during the academic year. And of course, over the summer, we do have summer programming to Latino students and parents through our programs Conexiones that serve 7th and 8th graders, Early Escalera, which is the 9th and 10th graders, and Escalera, the 11th and 12th graders. And of course, we also have the family component, which is our Colegio de Padres, which is family engagement for families with youth in the middle school and at the high school level. The goal of these programs is to improve racial equity and the education system by providing youth and parents the ability to advocate for themselves and for just and deserving educational experiences and achieve academic success. Both parents and students participate in sessions focused on cultural identity, academics, high school graduation, of course, and college and career readiness. These programs align very closely with our missions and strategies to positively transform our community and the lives of Latino youth and families by providing them with the tools necessary to succeed academically and in their personal lives. But providing after-school programming, which includes case management component, youth and families receive the support through individual goal setting, as well as bridging or creates a bridge to wraparound services, which we include not only keeping the family separate with just the students focused on the academics and the parents focused on equity and social tools. We kind of make sure that they have overlapping sessions, make sure that they are all involved in each other's lives and academic goals. But ultimately, we have a litany of different resources ranging from, again, wraparound services, so educational to rent and energy assistance, legal support for immigration-related issues. So as I mentioned, PCL funds a portion of our schools in the Conexiones and Escalera level. Those specific schools would be McDaniels High School, Park Rose High School, and George Middle School and Harriet Tubman. Each school serves about 34 or has a caseload of about 34 and ranging again from the different grade levels. So for the high school levels, it'll be 9th and 12th. And for the middle school levels, it is 6, 7, and 8, but specifically focused on 7th and 8th for this specific contract. And ultimately, our goal is to provide our students and families with the tools necessary to be successful in their academic career and in their personal lives. Quite recently, we're actually extending our programming through a new model where we actually have post-secondary mentorship and case management. We currently have 2 staff members working on that to follow students into their university level case management. And even though PCL or specifically this contract funds our Escalera, which is 11 and 12, it is in combination with other leveraged funds. So our schools specifically always have a very linear transition. So our middle schools that might be funded through a different program still end up being a part of the PCL or our Portland, Park Rose high schoolers used to be our Conexiones students who used to be our Early Escalera students. So we definitely follow our students' academic career as closely as possible. And above all of our students, all of our staff members are advocates and mentors to our students. So again, we do case management, one-on-one check-ins, and provide after-school programming. That's about the gist of what our organization does, especially these specific programs. And I'd like to talk a little bit about the successes and challenges we've had over the past couple of years. As everybody has felt, the pandemic did create a big shift into our model of teaching and advocating for our students and families. So one of the challenges that we faced last year specifically was still facing the aftermath of the pandemic with limited spaces in our schools, especially at some of the older schools where there was no way that we could safely conduct in-person sessions. So we still had to be in a hybrid model, which was all beneficial or a double-edged sword, because it was beneficial that more students have the ability to hop in whenever they're home, or if for some reason they have to do work or go to sports, they could hop in during their free time to listen into the session itself. But also it kind of created a distance and it was a little bit difficult for our staff members to create that community we want at the schools. If half of the students are virtual, although they are still with us, they're not with us in person, creating camaraderie amongst the other students. And then, of course, creating or building on that trust with our staff members. But one thing that we did see a great success with, specifically with our Park Rose and McDaniels schools, is that they're relatively a newer school, especially McDaniels. They've given us the space and the support that we needed, so we were able to build that community that we were missing, especially over the pandemic. We did see an increase in violent and or actions at all of our schools, just because we believe that our students were not accustomed to being back to in person, but with the ability to be in person with our advocates, our staff members, they built that community and we're back to having a space that's safe for our students, that they feel comfortable with. A lot of our students, especially at the 11th to 12th graders, tend to have free periods towards the middle or the end of their school day. So one thing that we try and alleviate is the absenteeism. So one thing that we've implemented is our open space policy for those students to come in, do their homework, ask questions about FAFSA, ORSA, especially now towards getting to the beginning of November or the end of October. That's when a lot of our scholarships opportunities are opening up. And that's when we see the increased number of students coming to our offices. And ultimately, that's the goal of our organization, is to be mentors and have a space for our Latinx students to feel safe and welcome at their own schools. And I could open up to questions. That's basically our organization department in a nutshell.
Thank you, David. Colleagues, anyone have any questions? I'm sure you do.
I noticed that just like Step Up, that you guys are in similar schools. Do you collaborate with them, or is the Latino network in and on it in the schools just by themselves? I'm just hearing this sort of running theme around these, especially after school programs, that it sounds like some of the students might be in various programs. But I just want to know, when listening to you, David, and listening to the first one, is there one collaboration? We've been blessed as the Levy to know Latino Network, and I just want you to know, I think your work is phenomenal, first of all. But two, really looking at, or do you collaborate with other organizations, and how is it now that you're back in the building as well?
No, yes. So we do have strong relationships within our or in our partner spaces. So we do collaborate a lot in our schools and then outside of school events as well. But that is completely determinant of our staff members and our students. They always let us know that they want to participate in Step Up's event specifically, and we'll go and support them, even if it's not something that we could write down on our report that we took students to this event or to this conference. We still want to show that our students that we're supporting them, we're there with them as well. And just because a student is in a sport, in a different program, that might have some overlap with ours, doesn't mean that they can't benefit from both. We definitely are here for the betterment of our students and families. And if that means that they have to skip one of our sessions to attend a different program's event or session, that's fine by us.
Thanks. Mitch?
Yeah, really appreciate the presentation. And like Felicia said, Latino Network is just a wonderful program and or organization. The program's great. So thank you for doing that. I'd just be interested in your experiences along the same lines we talked about with, maintaining and keeping staff. And, as a single funder, is there anything that the levy could do that may be helpful?
In regards to keeping our staff, we do have a pretty good retention rate. We do provide a very competitive pay for our staff members. We always provide COLA, which is a COLA increase, so cost of living increase every time that's available to us. We pay a living wage as well, and offer a comprehensive benefit package, which includes just departmentalized self-care or emotional care days. So these are days that we offer our staff members to, again, take a break. We understand that burnout is very much a big thing with our educators. And these staff members are there in person during the beginning of the school day, and then also staying until 5, 6 at times afterwards. So we definitely want to keep in mind that our staff members are human, and we can't just expect them to be okay with having 34 students come to them about their personal issues. We're loving, we're very much take that to heart whenever we hear one of our students struggling, especially when it comes to personal lives and also in their academic, visions. So on our end, it's just a matter of providing us with additional funds so we could give our staff members a better pay, maybe increase the amount of staff members that we have for a particular school or district, and increase the amount of support that we could give our staff, or our staff and students at the same time.
Thank you. And just thank you, David, for the overview. This is a great program, and I also will add my just gratitude for the work that Latino Network does in our community. I had a question really looking at the growing demographics of our Latina youth. How do you think that how is the program responding to that? Or do you see larger demand for these programs, or are you looking at growth of the programs in subsequent years?
So we have been keeping track of the need at each individual school. Definitely some districts and specific regions are growing faster than others. So we try and make sure that we leverage a lot of our funding that's to those schools that have that greater need. We're always looking into expanding and growing at each individual school, but that does take some time and patience, just because if we expand too far, we might be reaching out a little bit, or expand too fast, we might be reaching out a little bit further than we're capable of or beyond our means. But we're definitely growing our department. We doubled in size ever since the pandemic even. So we're adding more and more staff members to our department, and even programming wise, still providing unique and different experiences, opportunities for our students. So quite recently, last year was actually our first summer escalera, newly invigorated or invented programming, where we actually saw that a lot of our students and families did not really know about the local universities, and even all the way to Oregon State University or U of O. So we actually took our summer programming or summer escalera, and again, through different fundings, since it was a little bit of an expensive adventure, we took our students on a week-long trip all the way to California to visit Stanford, UC Berkeley, UC Santa Cruz, and show them the different schools that's out there in Southern California, or Northern California and Southern Oregon. And we had a lot of interest in attending these out-of-state universities. And not only are we just showing them these universities that they can attend, but we're also giving them the opportunity to see what's out there. And then also through one of the programs that we actually were able to research was the WUI, which is allows our students to pay in-state tuition for these Northern California schools that we visited. So a lot of these schools are affordable, and a lot of our students didn't know that. So we actually currently are tracking some of our students' application process, and some of them have sent in their applications to Stanford, and one of our biggest one is actually Chico State.
David, I have a question that relates to something that you're familiar with, everyone is, that's in education, and that is, during the COVID shutdown, if you will, and then the remote learning, which I know was quite devastating, especially for the younger children. We've seen some academic results of late that bring that story home, and it's sad because we made a lot of gains, I thought, for the previous 10 years. There's a big state investment focused on racial equity in education. And so how are you and your colleagues, we really see you as the people that are involved in the after hours, helping the teachers go beyond the bell schedule to accelerate learning. And it seems like that word accelerate, it makes sense right now because we got behind a bit, wouldn't you say, in the last couple of years? So what's the dialogue about what we can do differently as we try to, I guess, dig out of the dips that have just occurred of late?
Yeah, so one of the more recent ideas or conversations that we've had was the talk about students needing to catch up on some of their academic or other credits. So credit recovery is one of the biggest conversations that we're having at the moment, trying to see and partner with different organizations that offer credit recovery to work with them in I guess conjunction with our program to allow our students to participate in those classes, those sessions, even over the summer, and keeping track, still keeping that case management with the family and the student to again make sure that they reach the finish line of graduation, but not only that, but post-secondary as well, attending university, and whether that's or post-secondary, whether that's at the university of 4-year, 2-year, or very specific trade schools. So I guess right now, one of the things that we're mobilizing is just taking advantage of all the partners that are in our area, and seeing what they can provide for us, and allowing our students to, or giving our students that opportunity to go to these other organizations or partners in the school that'll help them.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. Any other questions? Otherwise, we'll move on to the next presenter. David, thanks so much for being here and for representing Latino Network so well. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Okay, Lisa. Yeah.
So Pao and Molly should be next. I see them on the screen. You guys can take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for this invitation. I am the Inspire Program's program assistant. I will be kind of introducing what the Inspire program is all about, including our services and the communities that we serve. And then Paul is going to talk about the successes and challenges that we faced in the past year. So our Inspire program stands for in-person or in-school program for immigrants and refugee education. We really try to focus on supporting our immigrant and refugee communities in schools so they can achieve academic success and excellence. We offer 4 core services. The first is academic case management. So in these cases, we check in with students, we communicate with their teachers and parents about their academic process and progress and challenges. Usually this is done through, advocates going to the school sites and talking with school administrators. And then our second core service is after school tutoring and enrichment. So this includes literacy, math, sporting opportunities, field trips, and culturally specific lesson plans. I know that last year I was helping find volunteers for our Vietnamese advocate who was helping run a Vietnamese immersion program. And then also last year I was part of making lesson plans for Slavic Book Club. And this helps with, giving these students extra opportunities to read and engage in a safe environment with their peers, as well as, advocates who come from their culture, speak their language. And when the Russian-Ukrainian war broke out, we actually switched our curriculum to solely focus on, um, you know, providing the Ukrainian students with education about their homeland. It's still a very tense time right now. And we're going to, continue the Slavic Book Club. So those are just like two key examples that I was involved in. And I'm really proud of how well we could engage students and how well we could like offer culturally specific supports in education. Our third core service is family engagement, and this includes working with partners like Sun to provide client assistance, such as rental assistance, utilities assistance, hygiene care packages, food stamp applications, etc. And then last but not least, our fourth core service is our summer programming that usually happens in the month of July and kind of extending into August. This again is connected at various school sites, and we provide academic and enrichment programming. Now I'm going to go into listing some of the communities that we serve. It's quite a lot. We serve the Latino community, the Burmese community, Karen, and Nepalis that come from Nepal, as well as Bhutan, the Somali community, our Slavic community, Pacific Islanders, and our Vietnamese American community here. In total, I would say during our meetings, we've calculated that our whole team speaks around 10 or more languages. And in the past 3 years, we've served about 160 students per year, and we've provided services to 9 schools, spanning from PPS to David Douglas School District. Now I'll let Pao Tong share some of our successes and challenges.
Thank you so much, Molly. And hi, everybody. My name is Tung, and I'm the Inspire coordinator. And I go by Tung, so it's a cultural reason. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to share some of our successes and challenges that we faced during these few years. One of the things that I'm really proud of my team, Inspire team, is because we are able to help families during the COVID pandemic and the rising cost of living in Portland. As you know, because of COVID, many of our families lost their jobs. They got diagnosed with COVID-19, and then given the rise, in cost of living in Portland, they are very, very stressful about housing stability or like having food on their tables, paying bills. They are really, really worried about that, and because of our client assistance and our youth advocate working really, really hard in trying to find resources for them, we are able to help them with rental assistance, housing assistance, paying bills. Like for example, like last year, what one thing we did was we give out $200 cash card to our clients. With that cash card, they were able to buy food. They were able to pay their rent. They were able to pay their utilities. So, and they were very, very grateful to us and asked us more if we can do more. So, yeah, and second thing is that I'm really proud that we are able to help students, especially those students who are facing mental health challenges that comes with COVID-19 and uncertainty of what's going to happen in their schools and things like that. And it's is that last year there was a student who was really afraid, and she was really, really scared about because things are uncertain, and like she doesn't know what's going to happen in school, and she felt like she's gonna die from the COVID-19, or somebody's hurting her. So that's fear was in her, and one of our youth advocate was able to work with her one-on-one, check in regularly, invite her to after school programming. And our youth advocate work with counselors and her parents, and help her deal with this, help her deal with the mental health challenges that she faced it last year. And she was one of our brightest student last year, and she consistently participated in our program. And yeah, she just shine in our program. So it was really great to see that our youth advocate can help her through a hard time. And then, additional to the COVID pandemic, as you might already know, there are a lot of wars or conflict in our clients' native countries. Molly just mentioned about the Russian and Ukrainian war, and yeah, our youth advocates, and we had to change things around to make sure, like Ukrainian culture, Russian culture, they are known and they are taught. So, and another example is that, as you might know, in Burma, there was a coup, a military coup that was happening during the COVID-19, and a lot of our Burmese community, current community, were really, really stressful about the situation back at home. So our Burmese youth advocates and current, youth advocate was able to serve them, not just with like, like not just with like money, but like with their lived experience, because she was part of our communities. I mean, their communities as well. So she was able to serve them that way. So it was really, really great to see that. And then compared to last year, this year do our summer programming in person, which really gave us a chance to see students face to face, and which really helped with transitioning into the fall term. And it was, I would say, a very, very successful summer programming. And here, I want to shout out to Molly. She was coordinating that, and she did a great job. And yeah, the transition was smooth, and everything was smoother than the year before. So I'm happy to see that also. And just a couple of challenges I want to share. As I've been alluding to, COVID-19 pandemic was really, really challenged. Our families got COVID-19, diagnosed with COVID-19, and so are our staff. And then families live in, houses that are multi-generational, so they don't want their students to catch, COVID from school or anything like that. So they are really afraid to send them to our after-school programming. And in order to combat that, we tried to offer virtual last year as well, but it was hard for our students to participate as well because of the lack of access to internet, things like that. So our student presentation was low, and only 65% of our students met our participation. But when the governor announced that the end of the pandemic, a lot of students return. Like in spring term and in the summer, we can see that a lot of students come back and join our field trips and join our program activities. And I am looking forward for this year for many of our students come back and participate in our programs, in our field trip, and things that we're gonna do this year. So I'm really excited for this year. And then, lastly but not the least, one of the things that we keep finding in the communities that we work is that there's a huge community need, and it is very difficult for our advocates to meet those needs and the community expectation that they have on our advocates. Like for example, like in Harrison Park, one of our PI youth advocates it's working with 30 students, but there are more PI students in that school, and the need is there. So like teachers, community members want to add more students, like 30 or 40 more students in our caseload, and that was very, very tough to manage. And we don't um and create burnout for the because the need is so real, and the expectation for that youth advocate was so real, and that's happened to a lot of our youth advocate as well this year. So a lot of people are expecting us to serve large amount of people, and that create a little burns out in our staff. So that's one thing that we are facing as a team this year. Other than that, Molly, do you want to add anything to what I said?
I think you did a really great job of summarizing the successes and challenges. I just want to kind of summarize and say, I think over the past 3 years with this grant, we've been able to create a lot of a bigger safety net and resources for our families. So, when we provide them um, interpretation, um, kind of services and rental assistance, utilities assistance, regular check-ins, we are not only building trust, but ensuring that they can also achieve academic success. It really means that we need to kind of start with the basics and establish those, and then go on to doing our like culturally specific tutoring and enrichment. That's kind of what we've been seeing. So yeah, I think we've just created a lot of trust with our families and being able to like provide services for them, especially in these past 2 years. We've been able to deliver on that and continue stronger in the future, um, especially with new challenges always coming up.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
Molly.
Molly.
And thank you, Tong. I want to say you really represent ERCO so well. And I want to start with my colleagues. Anyone have any follow-up questions?
I
Commissioner
have
Vega
one.
Peterson.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
And then you, Felicia, after.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Tong and Molly, for talking about this program. And I just was struck by the similarities in what we heard from all three of you who are here today talking about the programs in terms of the importance of the wraparound services for the children and the families that you're serving, and even the staffing challenges, right? Like how that's a similar thing. And especially, struck by the mental health challenges that our youth is experiencing, and really how that has become such a focus to make sure that we're serving our students, the whole student and the needs that they have. And I know that this is something where we've done more investment in youth mental health services, even with our county budget over the last couple years. So it's something that goes on. But for the Inspire program, thank you so much for talking about the specific challenges that come up with serving students in the immigrant and refugee population with things like conflicts in home country, experiences that they're having and how that relates here. I think that was just such a good perspective. I just appreciate the work that you're doing so much. So really no questions, but just really grateful for the work you're doing, for the work all three of you are doing, honestly, in the way that you've been able to really center how you needed to show up for the youth and the children over the past few years.
Thank you, Commissioner Vega Peterson. Felicia, and then Mitch.
Well, again, ERCO, like Latino Network, like Step Up, are just it's a phenomenal program, and you guys are a phenomenal nonprofit. My question for you, ERCO always has this unique challenge, as Molly, you highlighted, serving multiple immigrant communities. With this tight labor market, are there particular communities that you need more staffing in? Is there any particular area that you're like, yeah, we need more adults for this population that we work with?
Thank you for the question, Commissioner. I think to answer your question, I think every immigrants group that we serve need help really much, and a lot of all of our immigrants group, our refugees group, as you know, we laid out, especially with COVID-19, the need is very great, and we try to serve as much as possible with the grant that we have. And Molly, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think, Tong and I, we had a meeting about maybe hiring extra advocates because of the need. And we see it in the Pacific Islander communities as well as the Nepali communities. And for those two communities, uh, youth engagement and parent engagement really hinges on interpretation. So, like, we need advocates who speak those very niche specific languages. And that's always difficult. And we were also looking at maybe some of the need from our like Latino students at Lent school, Lent Elementary. And we had like only enough funding to find like 2 on-call casual staff. And we're like, okay, we have like these 3 communities that have a lot of need, and now we have limited resources. How are we going to do this? How are we going to decide things so it's through a lens of equity and really actually meeting community needs? We are still figuring that out right now, but that's what we have so far and what we've observed as immigrant and refugee communities move around Portland.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Mitch?
navigating those complications.
Yeah, speaking of complications, I was struck by, the challenges that we've read about regarding COVID and, the fear and need to protect their kids and, the vaccines. And so if the predictions are right, we're going to come back into another wave of COVID. And maybe you could talk a little bit about what your strategies are to educate the communities you're working with and get the parents comfortable and get the kids vaccinated, get the parents vaccinated.
Yeah, thank you for the question. One of the things that I feel like is useful the most is to have parent workshop or parent nights. At there we usually like share information about, like, for example, last year and during COVID time, all of our staff hold parent nights or like cultural event, even in virtually, and we share the information that the county share with us, and we share about vaccination, where to get vaccinated, why is it important to get vaccinated, and then answer questions that they have during those meetings and during those events. And also we are also doing, if it's happened again, I think one thing we will do is we're gonna continue doing those type of events. And also we have like, so when we do celebration like Lunar Year celebration, we share those information as well to the communities. I think that's also one of the best way to do that. Do you want to add anything, Molly?
Yeah, I would also like to add that we've observed that in our immigrant and refugee communities, places of worship are really a big organizing kind of unit, and there's a sense of community. So, like, reaching out and collaborating with religious leaders who are at different congregations, a mosque, would also be really beneficial because you have that connection with there's a lot more cultural capital in those organizational units, and a lot more kind of like interpretation and kind of skills that our advocates can bring, as well as the community members themselves. So really looking at this through a community engagement lens, we could reach out to other leaders and also do what Tong said, which is when we're doing like open houses and family engagement events during like holiday season. So there's a lot of opportunity to be really flexible and meet community members at their level.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thanks. I think I'll just wrap up by saying it was today's, the three presentations together are real satisfying to this committee. All of us have mentioned our gratitude towards the long service and impact all three organizations have in the community. Right now, we're focusing on IRCO as we wrap this up, and I'll have to say that personally, I've known Mr. Lee since the late 70s, I know. Many people in this room weren't born then. And I'm just always been so impressed with his leadership and then how it shows up in everyone in the organization. I always say, I wish we were not chasing money all the time, but we were chasing practices. and we were chasing needs. And then our job as leaders is to find the money for those organizations that are sincerely focused on doing that at all times. And I know ERCO doesn't always get as much attention as some, but just listening to those stories, and I especially, I think all of us were moved when you told the story of the young woman who she wasn't alone, and it was because of the outreach and the relationships that ERCO offered her. So thank you so much for sharing that story. If I remember one thing about this day, it'll be that story. And so I just wanted to end by sharing my gratitude with all three of the organizations, and particularly ending with ERCO, and just reminding us that your staff in this role speak 10 different languages. And we know that that should be monetized at much larger numbers than society is giving you at this time. But please know this entire committee was moved. I could tell by the engagement and questions. Thanks for being here, both of you, all of you. And we have to move on to the other agenda items. And of course, this always takes up the most time for all the right reasons. Have a great afternoon, okay? Thanks. Okay, we always start here, and then we switch to financing. And that's not a put down. But Lisa, you'll come up, and you and John will give us a financial update, correct?
Yes,
All right.
John has said he will remain on deck if there's questions that are more detailed than I can answer.
Sounds good.
So yes, it's always hard to follow, and I want to just say thank you, since I have been personally working with some of the folks that presented today and their organizations for my entire career at the Levy. I really, really enjoy hearing their stories, and it's really great for me to see how meaningful their relationships are with youth and how important that is. So it's good to ground ourselves in that before we have to talk about money. And I'm sorry that I have to be the person that gets up and do that. Could you advance to the first slide? Thanks. So we wanted to come in and give a little bit of a financial update as we are heading, we are looking ahead always to renewal grants. So I'll kind of give you a little background and ground you in that. We looked at spending over the last couple of years, and we are at about an average of 85% of budget for the last couple of grant years. Just to give you perspective on a non-pandemic time, we are usually above 96% of budget, typically, when we look back over the previous 5 years before the pandemic began. So you can see, and you've just heard, how much it's affected people, and particularly we saw the themes around underspending were around difficulty and unpredictability of programming with all the illness and the various things you just heard people describe, and then even more significantly, difficulty hiring and retaining staff. So that's not surprising, I know you all know that, but the bulk of the budgets that we are funding are to fund staff time, and folks have really had a tough time hiring people, and the entire wage scale of the nonprofit sector has really been called into question, honestly, to be able to attract talent. So this is a serious issue you're going to hear more about, and we're going to have to discuss more at renewal as well. But I wanted to make sure it was on your radar because that was really coming up in the last couple of years. The last thing that has affected resources that will be available for renewal is some grants that have ended by mutual agreement. So we've had some, we came to you in June at our June meeting, and one grant has chose to stop operating because of not getting referrals from the State Department of Human Resources. And then we've had another foster care grant that happened to another one as well, where they were not really getting enough referrals to be able to keep operations going. And then we've had one child abuse prevention grant, an after-school grant, actually two child abuse prevention grants and one after-school grant that also chose to end operations. Mostly, a couple of them mostly due to the inability to hire staff and keep staff to offer programming. So it's rubber hitting the road for people, and I wanted to make sure we talked about that so that that's kind of getting on people's collective radar screen.
Lisa, I'm sorry, could you go back? I don't
Go
want
right
to
ahead.
think I heard something and then it's completely wrong. Did you say they weren't getting enough referrals from whom? DHS?
The foster care programs that we fund, to make sure that those programs are serving kids who are actually in foster care,
Right.
they need to get referred from the Department of Human Services to get referred into our programs. And some, it's been an uphill battle to get those referrals often. Some programs are more established. It's been difficult for newer programs to get referrals, and the pandemic has made it harder. So a couple of programs one program, in addition to not getting referrals, also concluded that there wasn't enough demand for their service. And it was a new program, and they tried hard, really hard, but they just concluded that it wasn't worth continuing because they didn't see demand there. So somewhat different situations, but that's a piece of it, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Thanks, Yushing. Um, Okay, sorry. There we go. So I wanted to ground folks just in our grant cycle. So this is just a little bit of timing to put you on notice of what's coming forward. The current 3-year grants that we have will be ending at the end of June of '23. And you all will be considering grant renewals in the spring of '23. So it's coming up in the not too distant future, and that's partly why we wanted to look ahead to see what the expected resources would be. So at this point, after our analysis, and you can thank John Kelly for this piece because he's been the primary person in charge of that, looking at what resources will be to renew grants. So our projections at this point is we should be able to offer a similar level of funding for renewal grants in the spring. So this is something you all will be happy for hopefully in the spring of '23. And we are using kind of the following facts and assumptions to get to that projection. We're looking at the lower rates of spending, so that provides some fund balance to carry forward to fund renewals. The termination of grants before they finished their 3-year terms will provide some balance there. We made the assumption that grants this year would spend to 95%. That might be a little optimistic, but we figured we would use that as our parameter. And then we looked at the revenue projections that we have from the City Economist in January. So if any of those things substantially change, we'll get a new revenue projection in January. So we'll see if we're going to be close to what we think or not. And then also to keep in mind that the levy itself will sunset, the current authorization sunsets at the end of the fiscal year in '24, so June '24. In order to, the second year of renewal grants would be dependent on the voters choosing to renew the levy again. So that's, another caveat. But looking forward, we're not seeing at this point in time any major threats to revenues and being able to continue funding at the current levels. If there's any questions, I'm happy to also invite John up if you have any specifics. I realize I can't see the people who are also on the committee. There we go. Okay. I feel like I'm not looking at you. It's weird.
Hi.
Mitch, yeah.
Maybe this is a question for John. I don't, maybe it's on the website, but, there's quite a robust game of prognosticators, sorry, regarding what tax collections are going to look like over the next few years. And so I'd be interested. I don't need John to delve into it today, but if you've got, sounds like we're relying on the city forecasting. It'd be great to send that out so we can take a look at it, and then I'd be interested to see how it looks in January. So I guess just a request.
And I'd be happy to send you what we have, because it's a lot of numbers tend to put people to sleep at this time of day. So I figured I would stick to percentages today, but I'm happy to share that with you. We're getting toward the end of that. The new projection comes in January, and that's going to be, I think, more accurate. So we'll see what happens with that. If that changes, that we might be telling you a different story when we come back to our next meeting.
Yeah. Well, the good news is the first 3 bullets are not going to move, and that creates a nice little cushion for us.
Exactly. We wanted to offer reassurance to folks.
Great. Thank you.
Do you have a question?
Yeah, I did have a question.
Okay,
Thank you.
go.
Thank you, Chair. So thank you for this update. Just a couple of questions. One, is the issue with grants that have ended before their 3-term, you said there was about 5, is that higher than normal?
Yes.
Okay.
It's actually fairly rare for that to happen.
Okay.
But I think the combination of pandemic, the staffing issues that we talked about, and then some new programs. There were more new foster care programs funded in this last round, and it is proving it's difficult to get those referrals. That's been hard.
Yeah, and that is something that we want to work on, right? Because we know that foster care youth need these kind of programs so much, and so really figuring out how we can get those relationships with DHS and really talking to the right people to get that flowing, I think is going to be important because we have the resources, right? And we have the children.
Yes.
It's just making the connection. So
Yes, Joel has worked really hard on that. I got to give Joel a lot of credit
We
on
both
that.
assume the demand's still there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Exactly.
The other, and this is more of a comment, based on what we've heard today, but based on what we know on staffing challenges that, our grantees are having, I would strongly encourage us to see what we can do to get that COLA. As we're looking at renewals, I think that is going to be a really big priority to make sure that we can successfully have these programs run, because we have the staffing at the levels that we need to have that. So I just would strongly encourage that. I know that there was something in our memo about the possibility of COLAs, but we all at our public organizations are looking at, we know how important COLAs are for the people that we are contracting with. And I think we can, so I would suggest that we see how we can make that happen.
Whenever we've had the resources, we've offered, and so that's definitely our plan. I just don't want to promise until I have a new revenue update. I'll feel a little more comfortable when we get another revenue projection. But yes, absolutely, that's our intention.
Was there any public testimony on this item?
We did not have anybody sign up for public testimony.
Thank you. Any more questions? If not, we'll move on to our next item. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay, great. Thank you, folks.
Next up is Meg is coming up, and you'll introduce our new community engagement coordinator, Rachel. And I'll just let this all happen. Yay, you're both
All right.
coming up. Thanks.
Sounds great. Good to see everybody on the screen and here in person. I'm Meg McElroy, Assistant Director with Portland Children's Levy. And to my right is Rachel Nakabala, who is the Levy's first Community Engagement Coordinator. And we are delighted to have Rachel join our team. She will introduce herself to you a little bit more, but I will just share she started with us on August 9th, and she has hit the ground running. She had what we referred to in the onboarding process as a syllabus to bring her up to speed on the road the levy has traveled over its last 3 authorization paths. And most recently, our community engagement results that came before this most recent funding process, the grant-making improvement recommendations, both of those that led to the recommendation for us to create the community council and to hire Rachel. She's been up to speed on all the work that we did with you all to create the council and launch it and start the first application process. And so she will let you know what she's been doing with that over the last couple months. But I'm also very pleased to say that Rachel comes to us from IRCO, where she spent 4 years working as a case manager and with their civic and community engagement efforts. So take it away, Rachel.
Thanks, Meg. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Just a little bit about myself. I know you all have gotten the opportunity to read about me, but I am first generation, born and raised Northeast Portland. I have lived experience and an understanding of our diverse communities and culture. Again, I come from IRCO, but a little fun fact about me is I actually am a product of a program that was funded by PCL, which is now RIM. So that was a mentoring program. So I feel like I'm coming back full circle, and I'm super excited to be here. Through those programs, I was exposed to community-based advocacy and canvassing. So I earned my degree in public health, but community engagement is my passion. Fun fact. I actually wanted to go to grad school for epidemiology, and I did a program through Johns Hopkins, and I learned that that's not the direction that I want to go. So here I am. But while at IRCO, I was really lucky and fortunate to be able to advocate for healthier and more culturally specific food options for school-aged children, as well as COVID-19 vaccine awareness in our communities, especially when we talk about immigrant and refugee communities. Vaccines, there's a lot of resistance towards, so being able to kind of go out into the communities and talk to our clients and families about the importance of this was really exciting. Also during the time of the pandemic, really being able to address racism as a public health issue, while also focusing on the social and individual determinants that really do impact our newly resettled refugees and immigrants, as we saw a lot of resettlement towards the kind of end of the pandemic due to conflict around the world. But yeah, that's about me. Next, I'm going to jump into the community council. So in terms of the application, we relaunched it on September 16th with the help of the Office of Community and Civic Life, using their process for advisory boards and councils. Currently, we are trying to fill, fingers crossed, the 6 remaining seats during this fall round of recruitment. That way we can meet the 11 to 13 member goal. Right now we're doing a lot of focused outreach, which I will talk about a little bit more, but really just focusing on people who have experience with children that have disabilities, as well as our LGBTQIA two-spirit community, those who have experience with foster care and human services, as well as early childhood programming, after-school programming, and some more residents from East and North Portland. Currently, as of yesterday, a colleague in the Office of Civic Life informed me that we have applications have been submitted so far, which is very exciting because none of them went to the information session. So that means that fingers crossed that those who did will also submit applications as well. That being said, the application is due on October 31st. So we will be closing that round of recruitment then. Next slide, please. In terms of outreach, we were able to get it out in our application out and information about our application through the PCL newsletter, which should have reached about over 700 people, as well as social media. On my end, as well as with the help of my colleagues, really just making phone calls, personalized phone calls, sending emails, making in-person visits to local stakeholders and community partners. And that could be at DHS, visiting the local community centers like East Portland Community Center, Charles Jordan Community Center, and other faith-based communities. As we did hear from one of our grantee partners, in our communities, sometimes these faith centers are a place of comfort for a lot of people. So I was able to go to Highland and Emmanuel Temple, as well as reach out to those who are involved in mosques or leaders in the mosques. So far, we have decided to have 3 online information sessions. We had one on the 5th, which had 3 attendees. We have one tomorrow, which 5 people have registered, and we will have another one on the 25th of October. Moving on to the application review process, we do intend to reconvene the ad hoc work group, which will consist of 2 to 3 PCL staff, as well as 2 to 3 community partners. I'm new to this, but from what I understand is that we will be using the same review processes that was used in the spring. So the ad hoc work group will review these applications during the month of November, and then by the end of November, make these recommendations that will be brought to the allocation committee as to who should be appointed. A lot of our review criteria that will be used is just really making sure that these applicants are understanding the goal of the council and interested in really contributing to its purpose, as well as commitment to equity and anti-racism, collaboration, because this council body is really going to be reflective of our communities and the voices that our communities have, lived professional and volunteer experience with underserved communities, as well as the services that support them. Again, members of the staff will meet with the allocation committee in early December to make those recommendations in hopes that these council members can be appointed during the December allocation committee meeting. Currently, I have been getting to know the council members and working on getting to meet them one-on-one. Unfortunately, one of our council members that was appointed in the spring took a new job at her agency, which is directly funded by PCL. So she decided to step down to avoid conflict of interest. But in these individual meetings, really just focusing on relationship building, telling them about myself, letting them get to know me, and me also getting to know them and their families and like what works best for them and their situation and their work life, and just talking to them mostly about the 3-year plan of this like community council, as well as scheduling like accommodation and considerations. So what we will be talking about as a council, making sure that we're meeting in a location or locations that are convenient for our council members, as well as just understanding their access needs. Also, and mostly important for this, I guess we'll call them the first cohort, so those who were appointed in the spring, really making sure that they're getting through the city trainings and eventually getting these city quizzes done that are required by the Office of Civic Life. We are really shooting to have these quizzes complete before the holiday season, as once the holiday season starts, things get difficult. So we just want to make sure that I'm supporting them in the best way possible and they're getting everything that they need. So yes, thank you.
Well, Rachel, welcome home, for sure.
Thank you.
Before I go, does anyone have any questions or comments for Rachel?
Just welcome. It is so wonderful to have you here. And thank you so much for just jumping into all of the work so fast. It is a wonderful story when you hear somebody who was touched by these programs, you know, in your youth, and now you are coming home. And so that's just, I think, really shows the impact of what this work is really doing. So I appreciate it, and I appreciate the very, finding people to fill positions, right, is often hard. So I really appreciate the real thoughtfulness and dedication you're giving to that. And this is a new endeavor, right, for the Levy, but I think it's a really important one. So I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Rachel, you're building something really special, and you're so precise and methodical about, I could just see all of them being here at the next meeting, and that's a big lift. And thank you for the ones that have been kind of waiting, if you will, and the stewardship that you're doing to keep them engaged.
Thank
So
you.
that's a hard job.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Appreciate it.
Is there anyone that signed up for public testimony on this item? Okay, did anyone else have their hand up? This hybrid thing is challenging. You have to keep looking over at the screen. Mitch, you're still here. That's good. All right. Hi, Mitch. I think we're ready to move on then.
All right.
Is
Thank
it-
you.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here. Yeah. And the next item is, where'd you go? Yoshing, you're coming up. There you are. And you'll present our 2022 community report.
Thank you, Chair Ryan, committee members. My name is Yuxing Zheng. I'm the Communications and Outreach Director, and I use she, her pronouns. The annual community report highlights the impact of the Portland Children's Levy on the ground. The data presented in the report will likely look familiar to you all since it was shared during the March Allocation Committee meeting. The community report, however, provides a unique opportunity to hear from the voices of folks most impacted by voter investments, including clients and staff at our grantee partners. To set the stage, the COVID-19 pandemic stretched into a second challenging year during the 2020 to 21 fiscal year. Grantee partners face uncertainty with the pandemic, staffing shortages, and more, which you all heard about earlier this afternoon as well. Through it all, our grantee partners relied on their deep relationships to connect with and support children and families. Pictured here are staff and clients from Impact Northwest Parent-Child Development Services, an early childhood program. They created a new Craft With Us playgroup to help families bond by creating crafts using materials delivered by home visitors in advance. The kits included crayons, coloring sheets, puzzles, glue, and other materials. And on this occasion, they got to wear some of those cool animal masks the children had made. PCL provided 92 program grants totaling nearly $24 million to support grantee partners working in early childhood, after school, child abuse prevention and intervention, foster care, hunger relief, mentoring, community child care, and smaller organizations working in those areas. In the pie chart pictured here, you can see that breakdown in dollar amounts and percentages by program area. The grants serve just under 6,000 children in our community. 80% of folks identified as Black, Indigenous, and people of color. 38% lived in homes where the primary language spoken was not English. 44% lived or went to school east of 82nd Avenue. And as we all know, the pandemic saw explosive growth in demand for hunger relief programs. The levy supported the distribution of more than 4 million pounds of food to more than 20,000 children. Growing Gardens' Youth Grow program distributed more than 5,000 cooking and gardening kits at 12 schools, tailoring projects to classes and school communities from preschoolers to high schoolers. The program provides gardening education at school sites with school-aged youth and offers garden-grown food to families, distributing more than 1,200 pounds of fresh produce. Youth Grow staff developed and implemented online classes in Spanish at the 2 schools with Spanish immersion programs. Angeles Martinez Silveria, who is pictured here in the blue blouse, is the Youth Grow staff member from Mexico. She taught lessons on the cultural and ecological practice of growing the 3 sisters, beans, squash, and corn. She showed the students the diversity of corn grown in Mexico, and she demonstrated the process of making tortillas, which is what you see in the picture here. Students receive kits with materials to make tortillas at home, including masa, a plastic circle, and recipe card so that they could follow along. Angeles reported that although some students had parents from Mexico, most students had never understood the process of making tortillas, and they were excited to learn about it, and perhaps most importantly, taste it as well. Caring and supportive mentors helped children engage with school and provided the important social connections, especially as many students attended school through a computer screen. The individualized attention in one-on-one sessions and small group mentoring programs allowed many students an opportunity to build interpersonal skills despite not being in a physical classroom. Pictured here are Campfire Columbia students participating in a challenge with marshmallows and dry spaghetti noodles. Thanks to the Levy, Campfire Columbia served more than 100 students at George, Lane, and Harrison Park middle schools. Antonio Servan Gonzalez is the site supervisor at Harrison Park. Here's what Antonio had to say. Quote, PCL funding at Harrison Park supported youth to make memories that will last a lifetime. Memories that carry perseverance, embody trust, and instill the skills necessary to build relationships that are transformative and support the success of each young person, end quote. The pandemic also exacerbated many of the structural and institutional barriers faced by Black, Indigenous, people of color, and community members from marginalized backgrounds. Many of the families served by the Ethiopian and Eritrean Community Resource Center, a Levy Small Grants Fund partner, are recent immigrants and refugees learning about new social, cultural, and governmental systems. Before the pandemic, families could go into an office for an in-person meeting with an interpreter. The pandemic made it much more difficult to navigate and access the services families qualified for since everything went online. Overcoming the technology barriers allowed the Cultural Resource Center to focus more on other services and programs. For instance, a Levy-funded mentoring program that started with 7 participants grew to 26, with 30 more on the waiting list by the end of 2021, said Sonia Damto, the education department manager at the center. Pictured here is Hosanna, 13, who is on the right next to her sister. Here's what Hosanna had to say about the mentoring program. Quote, I get to meet new people. My grades have improved. Last year I had 1 B, 1 C, and the rest A's, and now I've got all A's. My favorite is math. When you understand it, you get to enjoy it more. And I learned ping pong, end quote. There are many more stories like Hosanna's that show the impact of the Portland Children's Levy in our community. Folks can find the full report on portlandchildrenslevy.org and stay up to date by following us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at PDX Kids Levy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yuxing. That was, it's so refreshing when you take each of the areas and then you tell a story in each area. So well done. You should be a communication professional. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll think about that.
Yeah. But wait, any other questions or comments? And is this, when will we have it? Is this out? Like, I'm sorry, okay, it's out.
Yes,
And it's
it
probably
is
in
out
my
on our
inbox.
website now, and we have been sharing some social media posts about it over the last couple of months as well. So yeah, I'd encourage
that's
folks to
right.
go to portlandchildrenslevy.org to read the full report if they would like.
Well, thank you so much for showing up today with telling great stories about the report. Yeah,
Thank you.
The highlights were wonderful. Let's see, I have to look over there. Image is good. I can't see if anyone else has their hand up. Nope. Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Oh, it's wrap-up time. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Before that, I want to see if any of my colleagues had a closing comment before we close out the meeting. Commissioner.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you, Chair. I have one. I just wanted to take a moment. The beginning of September was actually a really kind of a difficult time because we lost some really incredible people in our community, and I just wanted to take a second to really acknowledge some of the loss, especially for people who had such a huge impact in providing care services, raising the issues of children. One of those was Hadia Miller, who was really critical to the work that we did with Preschool for All, but has been a leader in childcare and early education for a long time. And so we lost her. And then the other one was Julie Mancini, whose work with the Children's Institute, with College Possible, all of the work that she has done for over so many decades has had influence in our city and our county. And both of these women were forces of light and power in this world, and we are all better for having known them, but we have definitely have the loss, and I think we just need to use their lives as inspiration for the work that we continue to do, the work around children and making sure we have the resources for the children that so need them in our community. So I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that. Thank you. Thank you for letting me do that.
Oh, thank you so much for mentioning that. I actually attended Julie Mancini's service on Saturday. A lot of people did. It was it competed with POTUS visiting, and I had to choose Julie's memorial service. And there was one quote in particular. She was all about service, and she said, "Don't take yourself too seriously. We are all central characters of novels no one is reading." Right? Just make the world better, and she certainly did. I think on that note, I just want to thank you all for being here today. Our next meeting will be on December 13th. Agendas will be sent to the Levy email list, shared on our Facebook page at PDX Kids Levy, and posted on our site, portlandchildrenslevy.org. We welcome your participation in these meetings. If you would like to join the next meeting to comment on the agenda, please reach out to the staff, and we will see you in December. The meeting's now adjourned.